Every run, for me, is made up of moments. The moments that stick in your memory of particular happenings that occur. The longer and more adventurous the run, the more powerful those moments and memories tend to be. This is a collection of moments from my race at the 2021 Ultra Trail Australia 100km. The atmosphere at the start line in the icy dawn air, thankful that I'd splurged on a pair of arm warmers at the expo the night before. Listening to the start of a 100km race first wave while waiting in line for a pre-race toilet visit.
Who's excited to get out on this trail in these amazing conditions up here in the Blue Mountains? We've got the drone flying.
Walking towards the start line and hearing there was 1 minute to go before the start of my wave.
1 minute to go. We're going to count you all in.
And feeling a wave of emotion flow over me.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Start group 2 for the UTA 100. Matty Reid, you'll have friends for life after today.
Keeping a slow pace on the road section over the opening kilometres. Seeing the colours in the clouds of the rising sun and the first rays of sun on the iconic Blue Mountains cliffs. Running past the traditional Aboriginal smoking ceremony along Cliff Drive, backdropped by the mountains that I would be spending the rest of the day running in. First glimpses of the Three Sisters. Running past my car at almost 5 kilometres in and thinking about the long day ahead before I would see it again. Leaving the road and entering the forest for the first time. Dropping down the further stairs and imagining how I would be feeling when I next visited these stairs in the opposite direction in the final kilometres of the race. Tree hopping along the beautiful Federal Pass Trail. Admiring the wide majestic views while trying to navigate the rocks along this landslide. Remembering the video I'd watched of someone who had run the race in the same start group as me in 2019 and who had smiled the whole way and finished several hours ahead of me, and thinking I needed to start smiling more. Watching those ahead of me struggle for grip, but having full confidence in my brand new shoes, I'd broken the golden rule of not doing something new in the race. I was wearing a pair of shoes I'd only run 5 kilometres in a few days before, a different brand and drop from anything I'd trained in, but they'd felt so comfortable I decided to chance it. Listening to the banter around me of chatting runners as we made our way along the trail to the base of the Golden Staircase. Climbing up the Golden Staircase in a big conga line as everyone joked about pushing too hard this early, but I was feeling comfortable.
Warm up.
Admiring the amazing views as I neared the top of the Golden Staircase. Getting to checkpoint 1, 11.4 kilometres into the race, and taking time to ensure I stopped and consumed some food from the table. The intensity of the wind along Narrowneck, with gusts of wind driving the dirt into my eyes. Sliding my arm warmers back up my arm as I ran along Narrowneck and thinking their purchase was one of the best running investments I'd ever made. I would go on to wear them all day, just sliding them up and down as needed. The bottleneck leading up to the terrace ladders, allowing time to take in the view, top up on food, and realise just how cold a day it was. Accidentally standing on someone's head while climbing down the ladders.
Freezing. Waiting around up the ladders. Run again to put it up.
Steep climb coming up to checkpoint 2, and while in a slightly different place to previous, I was around 15 minutes behind my previous time, but feeling so much stronger.
Just leaving last checkpoint 2, 32 k's in. Feeling actually remarkably good. This is where I fell apart last year, so fingers crossed.
Climbing up Iron Pot Mountain, feeling strong, and feeling that today was going to be a good day. This was the spot where in 2019 I started to really struggle and got passed by a lot of people. This year I was the one powering past others. Being struck by the burnt out forest and regrowth as I climbed. The energising lift I would get after having a handful of sultanas and a date ball. I should have kept putting those down. Getting to the top of Iron Pot, and a cheery volunteer screaming out encouragement to the runners by name.
Thanks.
What's your name again?
Ben.
Ben, that's right, I know. Sorry, Ben! Sorry, Ben! Look out, everybody, here comes Ben!
Feeling a tinge of annoyance at being stuck behind runners down the steep trail from Iron Pot, but reining myself in and remembering it was good to slow down. The meandering crossings of Gallon Creek. The long climb up Megalong Valley Road, where I still felt good enough to run the smaller inclines.
It's going at 450k, my fastest k of the run. All downhill that's why. A few drops. Not enough to get wet.
Coming into checkpoint 3, 46 kilometres into the race and 15 minutes up on my previous time, meaning I had run the last leg half an hour faster than previously. Actually running past the 50 kilometre halfway mark compared to the previous time where I was struggling just to walk past it. Chatting to a fellow runner through the forest at the bottom of Nelly's Glen and questioned if we could make the silver buckle time. He went on to achieve it. using my poles to power up Nellies and amazed at the difference they made. Running down to checkpoint 4 in Katoomba, 56 kilometres into the race, and wondering why there was hardly anyone cheering us along the street. Departing checkpoint 4 and realising why no one was cheering, it was freezing outside.
Just left checkpoint 4 and the sun to see it's actually freezing cold.
Seeing the runner I nicknamed Pink Socks for the first time. Enjoying the empty trails around Echo Point, which would normally be full of tourists. Going down the giant stairway at the Three Sisters and thinking back to my first time there over 23 years ago as a tourist.
Thank you.
The encouragement from 50 kilometre runners cheering us on as we crossed paths as they neared the end of their race and we still had 38 long kilometres to go. The long, brutal but beautiful climb up Fernbauer. This climb feels longer each time I do it.
K's in 9 hours 13. Uncharged the video camera. Gone flat, it's so cold. Battery didn't last. Running through Lua, coming up to the next aid station. almost 69 k's.
Coming into the Fairmont Resort checkpoint and being 48 minutes up on last year, but the mind struggling to work out what I needed, and I ended up stumbling out, vaguely hearing some cheers from the spectators. Running past where I'd needed to put my head torch on previously and realising just how far ahead I was on pace based on how light it still was. Playing yo-yo with Pink Socks for a few hours as she overtook me on the ups and I overtook her on the downs. She won in the end, I think. Running through the magical golden light with the sun illuminating the Blue Mountains' trademark cliffs.
around me. Sun's gone, getting cold, gotta pull the phone warms up again. See how we get.
Stopping to put on our safety vests at Wentworth Falls, 74 kilometres in, and looking around at the others taking out their head torches at the same time and thinking that would be a good idea. 200 metres into running again and realising I had not got my head torch out. The mind starting to go. Hitting the trail to Queen Victoria Hospital just as the last light of the day disappeared. Coming up behind someone who had not got their head torch out and lighting up the trail for him over the next 3 kilometres to checkpoint 5. The act of helping someone else through this section made me completely forget about my own niggles, and the 3 kilometres felt effortless. I'm sure there was a lesson in there somewhere. Sitting down at checkpoint 5, 78 kilometres in, unable to get anything more than a bite of food down, looking at the soup and thinking about having some, but not. The mind foolishly thinking I could probably get through the next 22 kilometres without needing any nutrition. Leaving checkpoint 5, feeling cold, weak and nauseous, but still hopeful I could do this last leg better than last time.
It is a bit of a long climb down Kadumba before the big hill. 22 k's to go.
Running the 5 kilometres down Kadumba, feeling reasonably okay and overtaking many people, as I tend to do on downhills. Getting to the bottom of Kadumba with 14 kilometres to go and having all these same people storm back past me on the long climb out, as tends to happen to me on uphills. The blood-curdling scream from one of those people who had just stormed past me, a woman about 100 metres ahead of me, followed by a scream back from a man running alongside her, and not seeing any evidence of what had transpired, leaving my mind going through scenarios for the next several hours. The inability to think about what food I had on me, what food I should be eating, let alone getting it into me. Coming into the final aid station at 91 kilometres and the mind not really finding any reason to be there. Walking dejectedly out of a checkpoint, dreading the suffering that I knew from experience lay ahead. Recalling the regret that I had not recorded any video footage of this section in my 2019 race, but also not having the energy to reach under my high-vis vest to get the camera out to record this time. Every step producing a wave of nausea, intensifying in proportion to the effort put in, meaning I was moving slower and slower and starting to get cold in the lower single-digit temperatures. Worrying how I was going to get warm for about half an hour before realising I could just put my rain jacket on. Dry retching with under 4 kilometres to go, hoping there was a big enough gap between the last person who had overtaken me to here. There wasn't, and he came running back a couple 100 metres to check if I was alright. I told him I was. I wasn't, but I would be. Making a commitment to myself to burn this feeling in my memory so that I would never, ever in my life voluntarily put myself into such a circumstance again. Getting to the bottom of further stairs with 1 kilometre and 951 stairs to go, and thinking I would quite happily DNF right here if there was a way I could magically be transported to the top. There wasn't. Inching my way up the stairs very slowly, waiting for gaps in the traffic at the narrow sections so I wouldn't have anyone stuck behind me if the nausea got too bad. Getting to the top and not having any surge of energy to run it in. Finding the cheers a bit surreal as I walked through the finishing chute after all the hours of being mostly alone in a dark forest. Finally breaking into a run over the last 20 metres to reward the crowd for their cheering.
Let's give him a round of applause. That's Ben Hartung coming to the finish line.
Crossing the line and lifting my arms for the finish line photos and the feeling of utter emptiness. Physically, nutritiously, mentally, emotionally empty. No euphoric finish line feeling. No sense of achievement. I fumbled at the mandatory gear check, collected my bronze buckle and towel, took a sip of Coke and asked for a cup of soup. It was delicious. I walked across the road to collect my drop bag, pulled my warm goose-down jacket over my running clothes, walked 500 metres to my car, took off my shoes, crawled into a sleeping bag, fumbled with my phone to send some text to family, and 43 minutes after finishing the race, passed out asleep. The next morning I woke up with a sense of disappointment, the feeling of a missed opportunity in a race that started so well. I went back to the start line to collect my checkpoint drop bags and met someone who had just crossed the line and was elated. He had run through the whole freezing night. Another person there talked of DNFing at checkpoint 5 after some gut issues and hypothermia. More stories rumbled around me of other mishaps and successes. A dose of perspective hit me. I had nothing to feel sorry about myself for. I had had an awesome day out in the mountains. I'd executed my race almost 90% to plan. I'd finished the race. I'd beaten my previous time by over 40 minutes. And after almost 17 hours running through the bush, apart from some sore, tired legs, I had barely a scratch, not even a blister from my new shoes. And in that moment, my thought process changed, to focus on the learnings I could take away from the race. What had worked, what I could improve on, and how I could run a better race next time. That's right, the commitment I'd made to myself just a few hours earlier had already been pushed aside, my mind already dulling the memory of the depth of that suffering and replacing it with a desire to do better. But hey, that's ultra running.